Today I'm going to teach you guys how to embroider using a back stitch, and some of the supplies that you'll need is some thread. I use DMC thread. It should be like a 6-strand, so you can choose how much strands you would want to use to embroider with. A needle to go through the fabrics. You'll need some fabric, and this can be a shirt, a hat, a beanie. It can be whatever you want. It could just be like a kind of a throwaway piece of fabric. And you also need an embroidery hoop to keep the fabric taut. And some of the optional things you can use is Fabri-Solvi, which is you have a design, you print it out, and it comes on this sheet, and it's like a sticker, and you just put it on the fabric and sew over it. And you can use a fabric pencil to draw directly onto the fabric. And some of the end products, it can be whatever you want, really. It could be on anything, like I said, a hat, t-shirt, just some fabric in general. So to start off, you want to have your design ready, something you already know you want, or you can print it out on the Fabri-Solvi like I did. And what you do is you would cut around, because it's like a 11x8 piece of paper. You would want to cut around your design so it's a smaller sticker, and you peel it off from the backing and kind of place it where you want on the fabric. Me using a t-shirt, you kind of want to position it in a good spot, but if you use like a straight cotton fabric or just fabric in general, you don't need to really worry about placement. If you have enough fabric, you can always just cut around the embroidery hoop. So after you have your design on your fabric, you want to get an embroidery hoop and actually put it on near the fabric, or near your design onto the fabric. And if you're using something like a t-shirt where there's like 2 folds of fabric, you'll want to go in between it so you don't accidentally sew the shirt together. And then you'd want to tighten it so it pulls the fabric taut. And then we get our string, our thread, and you can decide how long you want it to be. So you cut your fabric. Oh, and I guess you'll need scissors. So you'll cut it and split your thread. I'm using 2 strands, and I already pre-threaded the needle. So here we go. So it's like this. Then we pick up our embroidery hoop, and you can really start wherever. I kind of already started this just to get a head start. You can start wherever. I'm going to start a little ways down, and then you pull it through. And when you're starting it, you kind of want to keep in mind where the thread is already, and you want to kind of hold on to the tail so you don't have to tie a knot necessarily. So once you have that, you want to hold it. Watch for your fingers because you'll stab yourself. I've done that plenty of times. So you want to hold on to the tail so it won't come through. And then you want to go back through either a previous stitch opening or just somewhere where you haven't stitched yet. Also make sure to keep the shorter strand kind of long so you don't pull the thread all the way through and kind of mess up and lose your thread while you embroider. So now we got the stitch. I don't think you can see, but next we go back under and kind of go forwards a little bit, push through, still holding on to that tail, pulling through and going back into the first hole that you stitched in, and go downwards and pull that through. And once you kind of get the hang of it and keep stitching, so you kind of want to be careful because this smaller part of the thread became too short, almost lost it. So once you keep doing these stitches, eventually you don't need to hold on to the tail because the stitches kind of locked it in place. So with that being done, to stop your stitch, you kind of want to go under one of the previous stitches and then go back through one of the loops here to kind of tie it off. It makes a knot, and then you could cut the rest of the thread that you don't need. And when you're done with your final product, you soak it into a bowl of water. I use cold water. I'm not sure if you need hot or cold. I use cold. So you put your design, if you use Fabric-Solvy, in the water, and you kind of scrub at it so it dissolves. And I left mine in for like a couple minutes and then continue to scrub the rest of it off. And you let that dry, I'd say overnight. And then this is kind of what you get as a final product. Just a regular stitching onto a shirt. So yeah, that is how you stitch.